Every day we move through a maze of social interactions, and among them, some of the most difficult to navigate are the subtle, sharp jabs, belittling comments that catch us off guard. But what if you could meet those moments not with anger or insecurity, but with calm, clarity, and quiet strength? The ancient Stoics left us a blueprint for that, a way to protect our dignity and composure, even in the face of disrespect. Today, we're diving into that timeless wisdom to answer a question we all face at some point. How do you respond when someone tries to belittle you? This isn't just about deflecting negativity. It's about turning these encounters into catalysts for growth and learning to assert your strength, not through force, but through control. If you've ever walked away from a conversation wishing you'd responded with more grace, more self-respect, you're in the right place. We'll explore simple, profound strategies to help you stay grounded under pressure and shift how others see you. But more importantly, how you see yourself. Before we begin, if you value these kinds of insights and want to keep learning how to face life's challenges with power and perspective, consider subscribing. Let's begin. Belittling comments often feel small in the moment, a quick remark, a passive dig. But the sting can linger. And the damage? It's not just to our feelings, but to our sense of self. Yet Stoicism teaches something radical. External events don't harm us. Our interpretation of them does. So when someone tries to diminish you, your first task isn't to fight back. It's to step back. To see the moment clearly without emotional fog. Let's look at a common example. You're in a team meeting. You offer an idea, and someone replies, "That might be the worst idea I've ever heard." It's a gut punch. You feel embarrassed, maybe angry. But here's where Stoicism kicks in. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Reject your sense of injury, and the injury itself disappears." In other words, the comment only hurts if you let it define you. Instead of absorbing the insult, see it for what it is. A projection of the speaker, not a reflection of your worth. This mindset mirrors something Carl Jung noted. Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. If a comment strikes a nerve, it may be pointing to a place where you feel unsure or insecure. That awareness isn't weakness. It's the beginning of real self-growth. Let's take another situation. Your manager gives you a harsh performance review, harsher than you expected. Your instinct might be to get defensive, but stop. Ask, is there truth here? Is there something I can learn? Or is this just someone projecting frustration? Remember what Aristotle said. It is the mark of an educated mind to be able to entertain a thought without accepting it. You're allowed to listen, to consider feedback without absorbing every word as truth. That's strength. When you approach criticism, fair or unfair, with a clear, measured mind, you shift from being reactive to being reflective. You stop fighting battles that don't deserve your energy. And sometimes, the insult isn't about you at all. People often belittle others out of their own insecurity, a need to dominate, to control, or to mask their own inadequacy. Seeing that doesn't excuse their behavior, but it helps you stop taking it personally. You start to recognize what's yours to carry and what's not. That's where your real power lies. Each time you respond with poise, you embody the Stoic ideal. Calm in chaos, still in the storm. You become someone who doesn't just survive the moment, but elevates it. Every belittling comment becomes a teacher, a mirror, an invitation to strengthen your inner fortress. And over time, you begin to realize they don't have the power to define you. You do. Yes, belittling moments reveal our vulnerabilities, but they also reveal something else, our capacity for patience, compassion, and growth. Every time we choose to stay composed under pressure, we're strengthening more than just our emotional control. we're shaping our character. By responding to belittling comments with intention rather than impulse, we protect not just our self-esteem, but we also deepen our integrity. We stop reacting with bitterness or resentment and start responding with understanding and clarity. That's the quiet strength Stoicism offers. The ability to turn a difficult moment into an opportunity for personal and ethical growth. Each remark that once felt like an attack can now be reframed, not as a threat to our self-worth, but as a test of our inner stability. And in the face of that test, one Stoic-inspired response stands out. Simple, unexpected, yet incredibly powerful. Ask them to repeat what they just said. At first, it might seem odd. Why would you want to hear something hurtful again? But that's exactly the point. This move shifts the energy. It hands control of the conversation back to you, calmly. Let's walk through an example. Imagine you're in a group and someone makes a passive-aggressive comment about your job changes. Wow, switch jobs again? Must be hard to stick with anything, huh? You feel that sting. But instead of snapping back or shrinking in silence, you look at them and say, without hostility, "Sorry, could you say that again?" It catches them off guard. They now have to hear their own words out loud a second time. And often, that's enough to make them hesitate, to rethink, to realize the weight of what they said. Plato once said, "Wise men speak because they have something to say. Fools because they have to say something." This tactic puts that quote into action. You're giving them a chance to realize whether they truly had something meaningful to say, or if they were just trying to provoke or assert dominance. And in many cases, they'll either backtrack, soften their words, or not repeat them at all. Why? Because repetition creates discomfort, especially when what was said was inappropriate or disrespectful. It forces a moment of self-awareness they likely didn't have before. And while they're processing that, you gain something even more valuable: time. A few seconds to collect yourself, to breathe, to choose your next move, not from emotion, but from composure. That's the power of emotional discipline. You're not avoiding conflict. You're guiding it. You're not retaliating. You're leading with restraint. This approach also echoes the Stoic mindset. We don't control others' actions, but we do control our response. As Epictetus taught, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. By calmly asking someone to repeat a belittling remark, you aren't escalating. You're neutralizing. You're reclaiming control of the moment without saying much at all. And most importantly, you're showing yourself, and everyone around you, that your strength doesn't come from how loud you can be, but how steady you remain when tested. This is what Stoicism looks like in action: grace under fire, power without aggression, composure that commands quiet respect. This strategy isn't just about staying calm. It's also about setting quiet, firm boundaries. When you don't let belittling comments slide by unnoticed, you send a clear message. Your words matter, and so does the way you speak to me. It's not about confrontation. It's about silent assertion. You're not raising your voice. You're raising your standard. By calmly asking someone to repeat what they just said, you make it clear that casual disrespect won't be ignored. And you do it without drama, without escalation. That's what makes this approach so powerful: its simplicity. It doesn't require a perfect comeback or clever phrasing. It's accessible to anyone, even if you're not comfortable with confrontation. It's direct but composed, firm but still respectful. It gives you a way to stand your ground without stepping out of character. And that's the beauty of it. It makes self-respect a quiet, everyday act. This tactic reflects a deeper Stoic principle. Control what you can: your response, your presence, your tone. In doing so, you not only diffuse the moment, you set a tone for how people should engage with you going forward. You train others, without saying it outright, how to treat you. It also shows that not all strength is loud. Sometimes the most powerful response is the calmest one. And that brings us to another strategy, one that builds on this foundation of composure and self-awareness. Ask about their intent. When someone says something that feels dismissive or cutting, instead of assuming the worst or lashing out, ask a simple but powerful question. What did you mean by that? Or, are you saying my contributions aren't valuable? This shifts the energy again. It places the weight of the moment back where it belongs, on their words. And now, they're the ones who must reflect. This isn't a trap. It's an invitation for clarity and maybe even accountability. Because often, people speak without thinking. But when asked to explain, they're forced to become aware of what they're really saying. Epictetus put it this way: first learn the meaning of what you say, and then speak. By calmly inquiring about intent, you're encouraging a deeper level of conversation. You're not just reacting, you're reflecting, and you're prompting them to do the same. Let's look at an example. Imagine a coworker says in a meeting, "Well, it's not like your contributions have changed much anyway." That stings. But instead of firing back or shutting down, you respond with, "Just to clarify, are you saying my input hasn't been helpful?" Now the pressure's off you and on them. They have to either backpedal, clarify, or own what they said. And regardless of how they respond, you've kept your composure. You've chosen clarity over conflict. And you've demonstrated that you're someone who doesn't tolerate veiled disrespect, but also doesn't react recklessly. This kind of response requires practice. But over time, it becomes second nature. And with every calm, composed reply, you reinforce your inner strength. Because in the end, it's not just about winning the moment. It's about winning your self-respect. And that's something no one else can give you or take away. The strength of this approach lies in its calm, non-confrontational nature. It mirrors the Socratic method, a timeless technique used by Socrates to challenge assumptions and encourage deeper thinking through simple, sincere questioning. When you ask someone about their intent, you're not attacking or accusing. You're inviting them to reflect. You're bringing that same thoughtful dialogue into everyday conversations, disarming careless remarks by turning them into opportunities for clarity. This doesn't just reduce tension. It encourages people to think before they speak. It also brings to light issues that might not be obvious at first. Take this example. A friend makes a seemingly harsh comment about a recent decision you've made. Instead of reacting, you calmly ask, "What makes you say that?" Or, "Are you worried about something?" That one question can reveal a lot. Maybe their tone was off, but underneath it was concern, just poorly expressed. Suddenly, what could have been a moment of conflict becomes a chance for understanding. This strategy not only diffuses the moment, it deepens the relationship. It shows that you're open to dialogue, open to feedback, but you expect it to be thoughtful and respectful. You're not shutting people down. You're raising the standard of communication. And in doing that, you create space for real connection, whether it's in a personal or professional setting. Carl Jung once observed, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." That applies here too. When you pause to ask about intent, you're not just addressing someone else's behavior. You're also checking in with yourself. Why did that comment sting? What did it bring up for you? These questions lead to powerful insights. They help you understand your emotional triggers, build resilience, and respond with wisdom rather than impulse. This is emotional intelligence in action, responding with curiosity instead of reactivity. And that curiosity, it can shift the entire tone of the conversation. Asking about intent gently removes the emotional charge. It turns a potentially heated moment into a constructive one. Not only does it reduce the chance of escalation, it often leads to more honest, meaningful dialogue. In practice, this technique reminds us of something important: the power of words, how we use them, and how we respond to them. Because at the end of the day, the goal isn't just to avoid conflict, it's to grow from it, to lead the interaction, not with ego, but with clarity, compassion, and quiet strength. How we phrase our questions can completely shift the direction of a conversation. The Stoics placed great value on reasoned dialogue, not just talking, but truly understanding. They believed that virtue was often found through this kind of thoughtful exchange. And when you ask questions with intention, you're embodying that same philosophy in real time. Asking about intent isn't just about correcting a single remark. It's about creating space for deeper dialogue. It invites both people into a conversation that's more mindful, more respectful, and more human. This approach reminds us that every word carries weight. And when we treat words with care, we raise the quality of every interaction we have. Whether you're at work, at home, or in a social setting, responding to a belittling comment by calmly asking about intent serves more than one purpose. It gives the other person a chance to reconsider their words. It deepens understanding and connection. And most importantly, it keeps you rooted in your values, responding with intention, not reaction. By practicing this, you reinforce your commitment to the Stoic path, to self-control, rationality, and meaningful communication. This is how you protect your dignity while still promoting mutual respect. Now let's talk about the third strategy, one that may seem simple, but holds extraordinary power: silence. It's one of the most profound and stoic responses you can offer. This isn't passive silence. It's intentional. It's the kind of silence that reflects awareness and restraint, not avoidance. Seneca once wrote, "He who does not wish to speak is heard more powerfully." And he was right. Sometimes the strongest thing you can say is nothing at all. Imagine you're in the middle of a heated conversation. Someone throws a sharp comment your way. Maybe they question your judgment or take a shot at your ability. You feel the urge to respond, to defend, to correct them. But instead, you pause. You choose silence. Not because you're weak, but because you're strong enough not to take the bait. This kind of silence speaks volumes. It shows you're in control of your emotions, your energy, your presence. And in many cases, it says more than any comeback ever could. Because silence can do what words sometimes can't. Preserve your peace, hold your power, and create space for reflection. In that space, others are left to hear their own words echo back. And often, that's more powerful than anything you could say in response. When a comment feels personal and cutting, the instinct to fire back can be strong. But choosing silence in that moment can be one of the most powerful things you do. It's not about shutting down. It's about stepping back. It gives you space to protect your peace, to breathe before the situation spirals, and to ensure your response, if you choose to give one, comes from clarity, not chaos. Sometimes, that quiet pause is enough to shift the entire dynamic. It creates a space where the other person is left alone with their words, to hear their own harshness without your reaction to distract from it. In that stillness, they may recognize what their tone revealed, about them, not about you. This is where silence becomes more than a tactic. It becomes a mirror. And often, that reflection is exactly what's needed for growth and awareness to take root. Plato once spoke of harmony within the soul, that true health comes when the different parts of ourselves are in balance, and in choosing silence, you protect that inner harmony. You don't let someone else's chaos stir conflict inside you. That alignment between belief and behavior is at the heart of Stoic philosophy. When you stay true to your values, when you respond with stillness instead of reactivity, You embody the discipline the Stoics lived by. Silence also sends a message, not one shouted, but one clearly felt. It communicates that some remarks simply aren't worth your energy, that your dignity isn't up for debate, that you don't need to entertain every provocation. And this isn't weakness, it's strength refined. It's restraint as power. From a psychological perspective, silence is also a form of boundary setting. Carl Jung might have said, "In staying silent, you're not just protecting your conscious mind, you're honoring the deeper processes within you. You're giving yourself space to respond from your center, not from your surface emotions. And sometimes, no response is the highest form of self-respect." In professional settings, this quiet power becomes even more evident. During negotiations or in meetings, if someone makes a dismissive or belittling remark, a moment of silence can shift the room. Why? Because people are uncomfortable with silence, especially after they've said something inappropriate. It creates a pause they feel compelled to fill, and in that space, their awareness grows. Your silence becomes presence, and that presence speaks louder than any rebuttal ever could. Sometimes silence does more than just neutralize negativity. It nudges the other person to reflect. That pause in the conversation, the quiet space you create, can lead them to backtrack, soften their tone, or even offer something more constructive. This isn't about winning the moment. It's about regaining your composure and quietly steering the dialogue towards something healthier, more intentional, more aligned with your values. Choosing silence doesn't mean you're submitting. It means you're choosing your battles wisely. It means you know when to speak, and just as importantly, when not to. Because not every comment deserves your energy. And sometimes, the most powerful thing you can say is absolutely nothing. That moment of restraint isn't weakness. It's self-respect in action. It shows a quiet strength that doesn't need to prove itself through argument or reaction. When you choose silence over retaliation, you're setting a higher standard for yourself, one that refuses to be pulled into petty conflicts. It's a reminder that your peace matters, and that your dignity isn't up for negotiation. This, at its core, is Stoicism in motion. The ability to meet provocation not with impulsiveness, but with steady, dignified silence. One that reflects not just who you are, but who you're becoming. And speaking of becoming, I want to say this. Engaging with each of you, this community, is the heartbeat of Stoic Journal. Your stories, your reflections, your moments of strength and clarity, they breathe life into these teachings. One of you recently shared how you reframed a cutting comment at work into an opportunity to practice grace. That wasn't just your win. It became a shared lesson in resilience for all of us. That's the beauty of this space. It's not just about philosophy. It's about real life. And your experiences make these ideas tangible, alive, and deeply human. So as we close today's conversation, let's remember, Stoicism isn't something we read about and leave behind. It's a daily practice. It shows up in how we handle conflict, how we manage pressure, how we respond to praise, criticism, or chaos. The teachings of Marcus Aurelius Seneca and Epictetus aren't distant. They're living tools. And the more we apply them, the more peace, purpose, and perspective we gain. I encourage you to take what we've explored today and bring it into your next conversation. Notice how your energy shifts. Notice how others respond when you hold your ground not through force, but through presence. Thank you for spending this time with me and for being such a vital part of Stoic Journal. Every question you ask, every thought you share, not only helps you grow, it enriches this entire community. The path of Stoicism isn't a quick fix. It's a lifelong journey, and there's always more to learn, more to refine, more stillness to cultivate. So keep exploring, keep reflecting, And most of all, keep showing up, here and in your life, with intention. Let's continue building this space together, not just as students of philosophy, but as people committed to living wisely and well. Let's keep the conversation going. And as always, stay steady, stay grounded, and live with virtue.